اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا الساعة وإذا بولد الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه، والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عم رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي عليه السلام تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فأبت الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فلتأذنوا لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي عليه السلام لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جم من شيعتنا ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وعفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جم من شيعتنا ومحبين وفي محموم الله وفرج الله حماه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة اللهم صل على محمد رحم الله من قرأ سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا سادتي وموالي، إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله، وتوسلت بكم إلى الله، واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله، واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله، وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي. يا سادتي يا أولياء الله، صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين. آمين رب العالمين.
الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں، کرم مانگتا ہوں، دعا مانگتا ہوں. الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں، کرم مانگتا ہوں، دعا مانگتا ہوں. عطا کر تو شان کریمی کا صدقہ، دلا دے الہی رحیمی کا صدقہ. نہ مانگوں گا تجھ سے تو مانگوں گا کس سے، تیرا ہوں میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں. الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں، کرم مانگتا ہوں، دعا مانگتا ہوں. الہی تجھے واسطہ پنجتن کا ہو شاداب گنچا دلوں کے چمن کا. الہی تجھے واسطہ پنجتن کا ہو شاداب گنچا دلوں کے چمن کا. یہ دامن ہمارا مرادوں سے بر دو، کرم کی نظر سے دعا مانگتا ہوں الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں کرم مانگتا ہوں دعا مانگتا ہوں جو مفلس ہے ان کو تو دولت عطا کر جو بیمار ہے ان کو صحت عطا کر جو مفلس ہے ان کو تو دولت عطا کر جو بیمار ہے ان کو صحت عطا کر غریبوں پہ تو رحم کر یا الہی مریضوں کے خاطر شفا مانگتا ہوں الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں کرم مانگتا ہوں مانگتا ہوں ہوا ہے نہ مایوس تیرے سوالی نہیں تیرے در سے پھرا کوئی خالی ہوا ہے نہ مایوس تیرے سوالی نہیں تیرے در سے پھرا کوئی خالی یہیں التجا ایک میرے ہی خاطر میں سب کے لیے دعا مانگتا ہوں الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں کرم مانگتا ہوں مانگتا ہوں بحق کے پیمبر و بحق کے علی بحق کے بطول اور شبر و شبیر بحق کے پیمبر و بحق کے علی بحق کے بطول اور شبر و شبیر قسم 14 معصوم کی ہے الہی میں تجھ سے دلی دعا مانگتا ہوں الہی میں تجھ سے دعا مانگتا ہوں کرم مانگتا ہوں دعا مانگتا ہوں اور محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم
Rahim. Sayyid Hasan, Rizvi, respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For the love of our seventh holy Imam, Imam Musa al-Kazim, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin listed on the screen, as well as all other marhumin. Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. Shafi Maries is requested for all those who are in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 Ya Allah. Let us now invite Sayyid Hasan Rizvi to please come forward for tonight's majlis. By Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا والشفيع نفوسنا والطبيب ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. صلوات الله محمد وآل محمد. مؤمنين مؤمنات, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight, on the 7th of Rajab, we are celebrating and commemorating the birth anniversary, Wiladat of our 7th Holy Imam, Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. Most of us famously recognize him and know him as Babul Hawa'ij, right? This door for our needs, our hajat, and the things that we require and we desire in our lives. And many go to his haram and they pray, hoping that through him, through his wasila and intercession, that some of our hajat get fulfilled. Normally when we talk about these qualities of the Ahlul Bayt and the titles that they have, we look at it in a few different ways. Normally we mention that they have these traits of being pure, giving sadaqah, being selfless, all the various traits we talk about for the Ahlul Bayt. And at one level, we normally just discuss it in order to appreciate, honor, and praise the Ahlul Bayt, right? We just say, it's their fada'il, we should just mention it, and that's it, just to recognize the status that they have, which is good. But some of us want to go beyond that. We say, okay, after appreciating, honoring, and recognizing the status of the Ahlul Bayt, some of us now want to try our best to emulate, imitate, and copy those same characteristics. That, they don't have these characteristics just for themselves. It's to be set as an example for all of us. If they are those who are manifesting Insanul Kamil, they are perfect human beings, our job is to say that they can accomplish it. We have to at least try to see how close we can get to that same model. What we talked about last week in our last session is that every action requires a level of ma'rifah if we really want it to have meaningful effect. And we said that normally we recognize that for things like salah, for reciting Quran, du'as, ziyarat. We're like, okay, we want to go beyond the Arabic and, at least have the translation. If not the translation, then let's go beyond that. Let's have a tafsir, let's have an explanation. So most of us, want that extra level of ma'rifah. And we said that beyond that, there are other types of ibadat, other actions of a Muslim and a mu'min, that are not obvious that also require ma'rifah in order for them to truly have an effect. So when we are speaking about the personality of Imam al-Hadi alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, we talked about that even poetry requires ma'rifah, because it can be used by a mu'min in a positive sense of spreading haqq and spreading the message of the Ahlul Bayt, but it can also be used by somebody with good intentions, but actually steer people away from the truth. And likewise, we see that it's been a tool of propaganda for the zalimeen and munafiqeen throughout all times as well. So just in that same light, for tonight, what we wanted to talk about was the idea of khidmah, of doing service, of doing favors, and helping out one another. Normally, we see that too as something very basic, something very obvious. When you help somebody out, you just go and you do it, and that's it. Somebody needs help, they need a favor, you go and you do it. There's no thinking about it. But even there is a level of ma'rifah that's required if we want that action to really hold a high level of value. If we're trying to get it to line up close to the fact of us being like Bab al-Hawa'ij, right? If we want to be manifestors of that same quality, where people would come to us for favors, we need to make sure we're meeting certain preconditions, certain muqaddamat. And one of these narrations does address this. And from the Imam, that we'll see that there are 3 specific conditions that might help us achieve that higher level of ma'rifah when it comes to doing service and performing favors for other individuals. So let's start off tonight by going through this hadith of our 7th Imam, Imam al-Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. So he's reported to have said, "As-sani'a la tatimmu sani'atan 'inda al-mu'min لصاحبها إلا بثلاثة أشياء." A favor done for a mu'min is incomplete. Right? It's not tamam. It's unfinished. It won't reach its peak. Right? It won't be done until there are 3 things that are done alongside with it. So it's like 3 preconditions, 3 prerequisites, if you will. تصغيرها وسطرها وتعجيلها, which is underestimating your action, your favor, hiding your favor, and then hastening your favor. So what do all these 3 things mean? Inshallah, we'll spend a few minutes discussing that. If you can recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the first one he says is tasghiraha. Consider it sughra, asghar. Consider it something very, very little. Underestimate what you're doing. Consider it nothing, worthless, and insignificant. There's this famous saying that you can't count something as a favor if you're the one counting it. You can't count something as a favor if you're the one counting it. A lot of times, you and I, we're helping people out, family members, neighbors, community members. We do small tasks, medium tasks, big tasks. Sometimes what we do is, in the back of our mind, right, we throw it in our accounting books, right? We do hisab of that. So that when we need something, then we throw it back in their face, right? Say, look, I did this, and now you can't even help me out over here. I went on a limb, I went out of my way to do this for you, and you couldn't even you can't even do this small little thing for me, right? So basically, you hold, and we take our favor and we hold it hostage. And we use that as ransom, or serve as ransom against somebody else. When we take our favors and we count it like that, then we are giving it more value than it's actually worth. So there's a lot of ways. Normally when we do this, even if it's not expecting a favor back from somebody, even in the way that sometimes we express the favor that we're doing as we're doing it or after we've done it, even there we are trying to show the other individual how great that action is, how great we are really. So sometimes what we say is, let's say you had to bring a certain item from somebody. Maybe it's from overseas, right? This happens to a lot of us. We find out somebody's traveling, back home or going for ziyarah, and we say, can you bring back something, XYZ for me? Okay. So that, you are kind enough and you bring it back for them. You buy that thing for them and bring it for them, or get it as a gift, whatever it is. You've done a favor, obviously. So you give it to them, and they're like, oh, thank you so much, whatever. And then for some reason you decide to say, yeah, I had to go a lot of trouble through this. I didn't have that much space in my luggage, or I was was a little bit overweight, and I had to argue with the people at the desk, and it was annoying, but alhamdulillah, I got it for you. So what are we really doing when we're doing that? We're trying to say, I'm a big deal, and what I did is a big deal, so you should be really thankful for what I've done, right? Rather than think our action is insignificant, we're trying to make this person feel bad. Like, yeah, I went to a lot of trouble for you. You should recognize that and understand that. I am somebody. You're a person that had this favor done. I'm the one doing the favor, right? Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes, you're like, oh, I had the space. It wasn't a big deal. I had to buy one for myself, so getting an extra one wasn't a big deal at all. It's very easy to make your action seem insignificant. Very easy. It doesn't take too much. You just think of a way to make the favor seem like it's nothing, which most of the time it's really not that much. And if you can't figure out a way in your mind how the action really is insignificant, then we're not being honest enough. Then really we've considered that action really being big, and that's a big problem for us. Because, the highest level would actually be to tell somebody, you know what, you actually did a favor to me. So going back to the same example, if you buy something for somebody overseas, you bring it back, so you know what, you did a favor for me because, I don't know, you could think of, maybe, and it's actually true, that, I've heard of people who, let's say they had to go to a certain store to buy a gift that you asked, that they requested. Said, I didn't know that, but when I went out to go buy that gift for you, I ran into somebody else who was also on ziyarah, who I haven't seen in a while. So if I didn't have to go get that gift because of you, then I would never have run into them. So you actually helped me out. You did me a favor. Sometimes that actually works out like that. Okay, sometimes maybe you actually did go to trouble. But at the end of the day, you doing that favor, is that actually a gift for them, or is it a gift for you? The ability to actually do a favor and help out and do khidmah of a mu'min, who's really benefiting here? The person who's getting the gift, or the person who's been given the opportunity by Allah, the tawfiq by Allah, to help another mu'min or mu'minah out? You're actually the one getting the tawfiq to do this. So you should be thanking them. Say, you know what? I had the ability to go, spend extra time on ziyarah, to go and buy this gift for you, bring it back for you, so I got the barakah of giving this gift to you, right? So I should be thanking you for this. And if this is the way that we're approaching it, then we've really considered our action insignificant, which it should be, and thanking that other individual. Because on the other side, if we do that favor and we make the other person feel bad by making it seem like it's such a big deal, then in reality, what we've done is two things. One is we've done the favor itself, which is fine. But the other thing is you make the other person feel terrible. If you really tell them, yeah, it was difficult for me, it was rough, it was hard, whatever it is, obviously the person's going to feel bad, and they're going to say, I wish I never asked you. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Now, every time they look at that gift that you got for them, they're going to feel terrible. Which mu'min wants to make another mu'min feel bad every single time they have to think about this situation? So you don't want to put them in that situation. So what Imam al-Kazim alayhi salatu wasalam says, وَمَنْ عَظَّمَ صَنِيعًا عِنْدَهُ فَقَدْ صَغَرَ أَخَاهُ. The person who does ta'zeem and elevates the action, the favor that they did, what they've done is they've made their friend and their brother seem insignificant. You make them feel terrible. Or you put them at a lower station. What we want to do is the other way. What the Imam says is, فَمَنْ صَغَرَ صَنِيعًا عِنْدَ الْمُؤْمِنِ. If you make your action seem insignificant, فَقَدْ عَظَّمَ أَخَاهُ. Then you're actually raising the level of your brother. So, in the first scenario, when you're, blowing your favor out of proportion, you're doing one good favor, that's fine, but then you're also doing an injustice by making them feel bad. If you make your action feel insignificant and you raise the status of this person you're doing the favor for, then actually you're doing two favors. One is the actual favor itself, whatever it happens to be, and the other thing is you're saving your fellow mu'min or mu'minah, you're saving face, you're saving them from embarrassment. And you're actually making them feel good in the process. So even if you're thinking about this quantitatively, if you're the type that loves to go after your good boy etcha points, then obviously you want to do this and rack up more points. That's the whole idea, right? Well, that's not the whole idea, but if you're thinking about it quantitatively, you're going to win this way. So that's what you want to do. You want to get more points, do that. Make sure your actions seem insignificant. So that's the first one. The second one the Imam said is, what satriha. Make it so that it doesn't even exist. Completely cover that action. So what does he mean there? Let's discuss. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You know, this is a very difficult time and place that we live in, where it's very easy, and most people are pressured into wanting their actions to be known by every single individual out there. Even if they might trick themselves and fool themselves into believing that they have a sincere niyyah, they somehow mix that niyyah with the idea that, you know what, I need to still have other people find out. So they think deep down, I'm doing something for the sake of Allah, fi sabilillah. I want to encourage mu'mineen to do the activity, so let me, share. Let other people find out. So they trick themselves and fool themselves in thinking that this is for Allah. Then, again, they rationalize it, and then they spread this information everywhere instead of covering it. But there's a principle that some of the ulama discuss here, that whoever you want to know that that favor's been done, based on whoever you want the audience to be, whoever you want to have knowledge of that action, in reality, that's the audience, or that's the thing that you worship. So whomever you want to find out that you did it, that's the thing that you worship. That's the person or entity that you worship. And whatever thing you worship, whatever audience that is in your mind that you worship, that's where you want your rewards to come from too. So you pick an audience that you want to find out about what you did. In reality, that tells you who you worship, who or what you worship, and in reality, what it means deep down is you want them to give you the reward. That's the source. So let's see how this plays out. So if it's the sort of negative case, where it's we want people, the general public in society, or on social media, we want people to find out exactly what we've done, then that means that we are worshiping humans, other people, right? Very simply. I want people to love me. I want society to think that I'm a good person. That's why I'm after their praise. I'm after their love. I'm after their recognition. I want them to understand that I did something good. And this is why social media in this sense is so deadly. Because in the extreme, case, you have, all these individuals who are famous and monetize their channels, where they go around and record themselves giving food or money or, to the homeless or something like that, with the camera right in their face, right? Like they're shameless about it. And, I've unfortunately seen Muslims doing this too. Of course, there's a lot of non-Muslims, but now over time, a lot of Muslims have been getting involved in this too. And the same thing at the end of every video, please like, share, subscribe, same stuff. So it's very tough to say that your intention is for Allah when you're trying to commit an action and perform an action, which is good by itself. But you spreading it out like that is now taking away from some of the benefits. Because what you're saying is, I want other people to see that. Now, somebody might respond and say, no, but what if the action actually is good? What if by me doing this, maybe it's not something as obvious as, recording myself giving money or food to somebody who's homeless. What if it's like, a fundraising campaign for something overseas? Right? So a lot of people have this building wells or doing qurbani or whatever it is, or these countries which are in serious financial hardship, right? Like all these third world countries, people have these volunteer efforts, and on social media they post about it. And a lot of the times, a part of that happens to be, that I did this, now we need your help as well. So if you ask them, or they would probably naturally respond and say, look, it's not my ego that's in this. I just need to use this platform so we can maximize the effects. The idea, obviously, they're going to say, is we want people to donate. We want people to, give money so that we can help them. We'll say, it's not about me. I'm not the cause here. We know that it's Allah who does everything. So I'm just putting it out there. That way people get encouraged. And when they get encouraged, then we'll get more money. More money means more help for these, poor orphans or fuqara or whatever it happens to be. So again, on paper, it sounds right. Humble fundraising campaigns or volunteer efforts, sharing this with everybody. So the question is this. For anybody who has this, mindset, do you get upset and frustrated if people don't like, share, or subscribe to you? Like if you're putting it out there and it doesn't get viral, does that bother you then? If it does bother you, then that's telling you that, maybe your niyyah is actually not as pure as you thought. And then again, somebody may respond, say, no, but I want it to become viral so that it attracts more money and gets more support. Like, fine. Who's in charge of results? You, the one who's spreading it out, or Allah, the one who's supposed to take care and provide people's rizq in the first place? If the goal is your thing, then that means you see yourself as the wasila. That, I'm the one who's in charge, so I have to spread it out. I do everything. If it doesn't work out, then, I feel bad. I have to do more and more and more. So a person, in a sense, if they're being honest, they're really secretly saying, I'm the one who is in charge of it, and if it's a failure, it's also my fault too. Whereas if it's a more, God-centric sort of approach, a more tawheedi approach, you say, look, I do what I have to. If I have to spread it, fine. If it doesn't get any traction, then, well, that's the way Allah wants. I do my duty, and Allah's the one who's going to spread it if He needs to. Allah will make it go viral if He wants to. In the same way, if you look at the way He speaks about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, anything and anyone with real value, Allah is the one who, raises their status. But He says, وَرَفَعَ لَهُ ذِكْرًا, right? Allah says, we are the ones who raise His status. We do the dhikr. We will do irtifa. We'll raise it up. You don't have to go and spread around the message constantly. I know some people are interested. They want to go and do da'wah and outreach constantly and push everything out. Again, noble intentions, no doubt. But maybe we have to moderate and modulate this process and say, are you being a bit more, you're putting a bit too much into it? And when your heart and your soul and your mind get involved into it, maybe some of the godliness gets removed. So, okay, we're not saying that 100% it's your ego, but maybe it's impure. Maybe it's mixed a little bit. But a person, again, has to check their own intentions. And remember, they also have to remember that Allah says, وَاصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. That if you see yourself in a situation where you try to do all this good, Allah says, وَاصْبِرْ, have sabr, have patience. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Over and over again in different ayat, He says, I'm the one who's in charge of ajr. I'll give the reward. If you do something and you don't see the results that you want, don't worry. I'm the one who's in charge of cause and effect, not you. I'll take care of this. So if you see that it's not going viral and this and that, you shouldn't be the one who's upset. You shouldn't be the one to worry. You shouldn't have to go and, make constant, campaigns or say, why isn't it being spread out? Say, look, I did my duty and it's done. If that's your niyyah and it's with Allah, then this would be an actual godly exercise. But again, this is where we see when we go back to the same hadith from Imam al-Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. He says, وَمَنْ كَتَمَ مَا أَوْلَاهُ مِنْ صَنِيعَ وَصَنِيعِهِ. So whoever does kitman, meaning they hide and they cover whatever, good and favors that they've done, whatever they do that, فَقَدْ كَرَّمَ فِعَالَ. They have done takreem, ikram. They have made their action actually noble then. Because what they say is, look, if this action has real kiramat and nobility, then Allah's the one who's going to do what He has to with it. I'm not the one in charge of it. But if I'm the one saying, no, I have to go out and I have to raise this and I have to show myself, then you are trying to put kirama on yourself. You're trying to make yourself seem more noble than you actually are. So of course, we have to make sure that Allah's the one who's the source of all this. The final thing that the Imam said is, after we've underestimated our actions, our favors, after we've also tried to cover and hide and make sure Allah's the only one who finds out about what we do, the final thing then is وَتَعْجِيل. Try to rush to do it and also complete it. Have you ever had a good idea? You've wanted to help somebody or something or an organization, but one or two things has happened. Either you delayed and because of that you missed the opportunity. Maybe again, it's a campaign, like a fundraising campaign or something, and then you missed the deadline, so now you've lost that barakah. Or because of your delay, maybe somebody asked for your help and they said, show up at 3 o'clock. And then you end up showing up at 4. And because of that delay, you put the person in more harm's way. If you had just said, I can't make it on time, maybe they would have found something else. By you agreeing and then not rushing to help, you actually put them in a worse position. And I'm sure we've been on the other side of that too, where we expected a certain favor, somebody agreed, and from then not showing up or delaying it, it's caused us issues. Right? So when we make these sort of promises, we need to make sure, if we're trying to take it up to that higher level of ma'rifah, that we're not just doing it and keeping it in the back of our head, like, I'm doing somebody a favor, so I can take my time. Say, no, I've been given the tawfiq to help somebody out. I need to rush towards that, right? وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. These are the ones who rush forward and go out and do everything first. They don't wait. They do everything ahead of everybody else. So if we delay, we all know the natural consequence. You delay, you miss the opportunity, whatever it is. You see that you offered somebody a favor. Initially, you feel good. But then when you see that you messed up everything, then you feel bad. When the consequence of doing something good is the exact opposite. A good deed is, the way that Allah has set it up kind of existentially is that we automatically feel good. You see these people on the side, you give them $1, $5, whatever. There's a natural feeling of goodness that, alhamdulillah, I was able to help out. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, if you see that yourself as the source, that's an issue. And this is why we have in other narrations when they say, when you give sadaqah, remember that you are the wasila. You're almost like you're yadullah. You're acting as the hand of Allah. So they say sometimes there's two different narrations. One says before you give the sadaqah, one says after. They say kiss your hand. It's like you're kissing the hand of Allah. Because that money was never yours to begin with. This act of you giving was never your act to begin with. You have just become a middleman. That's all you are. You're not the source of the money. You're not the source of the giving. You're just a middle person. That's all you are. So they said, this is Allah who's the one who's hastening you to give this out. So kiss that hand so that you understand the barakah of what you've been doing. And this is why the Imam in the same hadith ends where he says, وَمَنْ عَجَّلَ مَا وَعَدَ. So a person who rushes and hastens and quickly tries to perform and get this deed done, to finish it, then فَقَدْ هَنِيَ الْعَطِيَةِ. Then this person then will definitely feel joy from giving that gift to. He'll be a partner. Because when we get a favor, we feel good. And when we rush and we get that favor done quickly, then there's that extra bit of favor for that individual and for ourselves too. So we become sharik and partners in doing these favors for individuals. Hopefully, inshallah, with these points, it can make us think on a higher level of how we can maybe manifest this quality of becoming Bab al-Hawa'ij. And the same way we want our Imam, when he prays to Allah on our behalf, we want obviously our things to be done quickly. We want that favor to be covered up too. We don't want everybody to know sometimes that we're getting favors done from the outside, right? We don't want the whole world to find out necessarily. And we want it to be done in a way where we're not made to feel insignificant. We don't like to be felt like, oh, I did you a favor. You better keep this in mind. We want to be, even if we're the recipients of a favor, then we want to be still made, we want to still have this feeling that we've been ennobled and favored by Allah. And when we're doing favors, we want to keep the same thing in mind, that it's not just us doing the favor and then we feel great about it. We lower its status by making it insignificant, that we're really not the ones behind it in the first place. We are getting the ability to do two favors for somebody by saying, you're making me do a favor, so thank you. We also want to cover it up as much as possible. Don't spread it out to anybody. As much as possible. Let Allah be the source of reward. And finally, rush to perform it. If we can do that, then hopefully we would have manifested that quality and learned from the example of our seventh Imam, who we call Bab al-Hawa'ij, alayhi salatu wassalam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, let's jump to our quiz, inshallah, with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, I told you guys to rush to favors, so rush to the quiz. Come on. There we go. Okay, let's see. So we have the usual players, the normal players. Muzammil, Yusuf Ali, S, Sakina, Plato, me. Specialists, SMS, Kazim, whoever that is. KSI 313, Rais. Who else do we have? SS. So we have one S and two S. Wudu. Truth Seeker, Jabir, let's see, ST, Ali Fatima, Ali G, technically winner? I think you mean, there you go, technically wins. See, sometimes when you rush to an action, you make some misspelling. You have to be careful. Don't go too fast. WF, what is the World Federation playing tonight too? I thought they're busy with other stuff. Why are they busy playing Slido? Salams, Hamisi. Okay, I think we've got enough. Let's get started. Abu Sabiha, Kushali Mubarak. Jessa. Yeah, we can get started, inshallah. Okay. The seventh Imam alayhi salam was born on 7th Muharram, 7th Safar, 7th Rajab, or 7th of Sha'ban. MashaAllah, most of you got it. It's actually the 7th of Safar, right? So we commemorate it and celebrate it tonight because there are many who don't feel that it's appropriate to celebrate it in Safar. So instead, they've moved it to Rajab instead. Okay, let's go to the next question. After the birth of his son, the 6th Imam alayhi salam did what? Held a public majlis for Imam Hussein, held 7 public majalis for Imam Hussein, cried and recited poetry for Imam Hussein by himself, or had a celebration and gave out food to people for 3 days. So again, this is after the birth of the 7th Imam. What did the 6th Imam do? And again, remember, this is in Safar. So, it's not exactly 50-50 split, but close enough. So most of you did get it. He had a celebration and gave out food to people for 3 days. Some of you thought that maybe because it's Safar, he wouldn't have had a celebration. But 6th Imam did celebrate it. Why we don't? Khair. Somebody else can answer that to me some other time. I don't know why. Other communities, they actually don't have any Wiladat celebration whatsoever, which is interesting. Who is reported to have said that the grave of Musa ibn Ja'far is a tried and tested medicine? Sayyid Ma'asum Ma'qum, Imam Rida, Ayatollah Bahjat, or Imam Shafi'i, the famous Sunni scholar. The grave of Musa ibn Ja'far is a tried and tested medicine. It's either Shifa or Dawa, I can't remember. Yeah, Dawa. So, it sounds like something Ayatollah Bahjat would say, right? But it was actually the Sunni scholar, Imam Shafi'i. Yeah. Many of these Sunni scholars saw the benefit of visiting the graves of the Aimma alayhimus salam, and they would go sometimes go with Shia scholars and things like that. Right? The same sort of discrepancy and issues that exist now didn't really seem to exist throughout history. Things have changed, unfortunately. Okay, final question. Where is Earth's south magnetic pole? North Pole, Tropic of Cancer, South Pole, or the equator? I can't remember what the answer was. I think it's North Pole, right? Yeah, there we go. North Pole. Yeah. I have nothing to explain about this. I have no idea. No jokes, nothing. Congratulations, specialist. Only one with 4 out of 4. Nice job. Huh? I don't even know who specialist is. Who are oh. Kazim, Plato, Jaber, KSI 313. All of them got 3 out of 4. That question about the grave of Imam al-Kazim is the one that confused them, which is understandable. But we asked this last year, so should have learned from last year's celebration. But they got it fast at least. But again, sometimes doing things fast is not always the best. Okay, so inshallah, again, Wiladat and Kushal Mubarak to all of you. We will continue with our programs. Inshallah, the next one is Thursday night for our regular Thursday program. And then we are celebrating the Wiladah of our 9th Imam, Imam al-Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam, on Friday night, inshallah. So hopefully we'll see you Thursday and Friday, inshallah, if Allah provides us the tawfiq. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
हुसैन तेरे लिए हुसैन वाले है जिंदा हुसैन तेरे लिए इन्हें बतूल ने भेजा हुसैन तेरे लिए
حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے دعائے راتوں کو کرتے تے کس لیے ہے در یہ راز کرب و بلا میں عیاں ہوا سب پر علی نے مانگا تھا بیٹا حسین تیرے لیے حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے تیرے بغیر نہیں لگے تا دل پیمبر کا بتا رہا ہے یہ ہم کو ظہور اکبر کا رسول آئے دوبارہ حسین تیرے لیے حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے اٹھیں گے تازیے وعدہ ہے سر رہے نہ رہے غم حسین رہے گا پھر سر رہے نہ رہے جلوس چلتا رہے گا حسین تیرے لیے حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے ہر ایک شہید کے لب پر یہی ترانہ ہے قضا تو تجھ سے ملاقات کا بہانہ ہے میں بار بار مروں گا حسین تیرے لیے یا علی حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے علی تو آئے تھے قبلہ اسے بنانے کو سیاہ پوشی بتاتی ہے یہ زمانے کو بنا ہے اصل میں کعبہ حسین تیرے لیے حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے انہیں بطول نے بھیجا حسین تیرے لیے حسین والے ہے زندہ حسین تیرے لیے بر محمد وال محمد صلوات
Just a quick announcement. Tonight, Niyaz will be served inside and not at the gate, as it usually is. We'll now conclude with ziyarat, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alaikum ya Fatima al-Zahra. Assalamu alaikum ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Assalamu alaikum ya Hussein Shaheed bi Karbala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Ali ibn al-Hussein Zain al-Abidin. Assalamu alaikum ya Muhammad ibn Ali al-Bakir. Assalamu alaikum ya Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. Assalamu alaikum ya Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kazim. Assalamu alaikum ya Ali ibn Musa al-Rida. Assalamu alaikum ya Muhammad ibn Ali al-Taki. Assalamu alaikum ya Muhammad ya Ali ibn Muhammad al-Naki. Assalamu alaikum ya Hasan ibn Ali al-Askari. Assalamu alaikum ya Hujjatullah ibn al-Hasan ya Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Sayyidi al-Aman, al-Aman, al-Aman min fitnat al-Zaman. Assalamu alaikum ya Khalifat al-Rahman. Assalamu alaikum ya Sharik al-Quran. Assalamu alaikum ya Kabat al-Iman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma kulli walika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توا وتمثله فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.